I have a question for you. Does this look like something that belongs in a kid's show, or is it just terrifying? If you said that was just straight up horrifying, I'd agree with you. And that's exactly why I'm making this video today, because there are many kids, movies, and shows we've all seen that should not be meant for children. But the weird thing about these programs was that no one can tell if they were actually meant to scare children or if that was just by accident. So today, we're going through movies and shows we all watched that had no business being shown to kids. Monster House. If you haven't seen this movie, here's the setup. There's a kid named DJ who lives in a normal suburban neighborhood. Across the street from where he lived is a rundown mansion owned by a terrifying old man named Nebercracker. Now, the best way I could describe this dude is, I don't know what kind of car he drove, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it was a white van. Hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. Whenever any kid gets even remotely close to Nebercracker's lawn, he explodes out of the front door screaming like he's at the kidnapping Olympics. He's like the dude in Hello Neighbor, but times a million. And the worst thing that could possibly happen as a kid is losing your ball, your frisbee, or anything in his backyard because you will never see it again. Now, like I said, everyone had a neighbor like this growing up, so it's not out of the ordinary. But what I forgot to mention about this movie is that the house is alive and trying to eat children. Then you meet the victims of this movie. DJ and his two friends Chowder and a girl named Jenny, who shows up selling Halloween candy and is by far the least dumb person in the whole movie. Now, DJ and Chowder always had their theories about this creepy house. Jenny was a bit skeptical about the house being alive because if someone told you their house was alive, you would probably get them put into a mental hospital. Early in the movie, Nebercracker has a heart attack during a confrontation with DJ and he gets taken away by an ambulance. Not too out of the ordinary. I remember the first time I scared an old man enough to make him have a heart attack. Like, we've all done that before. Back in the old days, he probably would have snatched DJ up and put him in the basement. But that didn't happen here. And since Nebercracker got taken by the ambulance, the house was empty. But what we didn't realize at first is this Nebercracker was keeping the house in check. So when he left, the house started doing whatever it wanted, which is primarily trying to consume people and their belongings. It sucks a police car directly through its front door. And if you're a police officer, what do you even put on the report for that? House ate my car? They're locking you up in the mental hospital too, buddy. But here's where Monster House separates itself from being a movie meant for kids that feels slightly spooky to something a whole lot more terrifying. Because Nebercracker's wife, Constance, was a large woman. Not trying to be mean, just stating the facts. And her entire life, neighborhood kids tormented her constantly. Every Halloween, they'd show up to mock her, throw things at her house, scream at her. It was just what the kids did. It's the same thing kids do every time they see me in the McDonald's drive-thru line. Seriously, please stop. And it used to be considered funny, but one Halloween, it escalated. There was a confrontation, and Constance fell and died. Nebercracker, because he loved his Pookie so much, and because grief does terrible things to people's decision-making, he finished building the house on top of her. And Constance's soul, which has spent decades being humiliated and furious, and never once getting to just exist in peace, fused with the house itself. She became the house. And no, that is not a fat joke. It's actually a good one, though. But anyways, the tongue of the house is Constance. The uvula is also Constance. When the house eats toys and bikes and small children's belongings, that's Constance reacting to people bothering her. Which means Nebercracker wasn't necessarily the villain after all. He just tried to keep Constance under control. Every kid he scared away was a kid he was keeping from being eaten. He was protecting the entire neighborhood from his wife, and everyone thought he was just a mean old man. Monster House was a movie made for kids, and the plot of it was a story about a man whose wife died and started eating children. Now, why would you make a film about eating children that is directed to children? Did the people who created this just want kids to stay out of their yard, so they decided this is the only way to do that? But it's not even the plot itself that makes it super creepy. The animation style makes you super uncomfortable in a way that's hard to explain, but you feel it instantly. It's animated, but the characters move like real humans, but slightly off. It's super uncanny. And then the house itself was enough to give me nightmares. When it screams, you can see it has a door with way too many teeth. The house's front windows, which are Constance's eyes, track you as you move down the street. It's not jump scare scary, but super uncomfortable. But this one scene inside the house is where my nightmares really came from. The kids have to go inside to find the furnace, which is the house's heart. And navigating the interior of the house is like navigating a body from the inside. The carpet rolls and grabs you, the furniture moves, you're inside a living creature and it knows you're there. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to see what the inside of people's bodies look like. If I did want to see that, I would have went to medical school. Actually, that's not true because I wasn't even smart enough to pass regular school. But you get the point. Eventually, DJ, Chowder, and Jenny throw dynamite into the chimney, burning the house and freeing Constance's soul. This is starting to sound like a GTA mission. Once Constance leaves, the house leaves with her, and all that is lefty is an empty plot of land. Nebercracker cries seeing Constance's soul leave, which makes you feel bad for the guy, because all he was trying to do was protect the neighborhood from his deceased wife this whole time. To be fair, he is the reason there was a living house in the first place, and people did die, but hey, everyone makes mistakes, right? But this reminds me, I have a terrible habit. Anytime there's something important I need to do, I just assign it to Future Tyler. Need to answer a text? Future Tyler can handle that. Need to clean my room? Sounds like a problem for Future Tyler. Need to book a doctor's appointment? Oh, that's definitely Future Tyler's responsibility. The problem is, Future Tyler is somehow even lazier than current
Playing on iPhone? Now you can play Unlocked on PC with Google Play Games.
The Krusty Krab. Squidward, being Squidward, decides the best were wholesome and enjoyable for all ages. There were certain episodes that were different. Like there's an episode called The Graveyard Shift. SpongeBob and Squidward have to work the overnight shift at the Krusty Krab. Squidward, being Squidward, decides the best use of his time is to terrorize SpongeBob with a horror story. The story is about a former fry cook who cut off his own hand, replaced it with a spatula, got hit by a bus, and now comes back to haunt the Krusty Krab every night at the witching hour looking for his next victim. Who is this former cook? The hash-slinging slasher. If you've ever watched this episode of SpongeBob, I probably just instantly gave you some PTSD. Now when SpongeBob hears this story, he's instantly terrified. But as a viewer, you're thinking Squidward is just making this up to scare him. The exact signs from the story actually start happening in real life. The lights flicker, the phone rings, and there's nobody on the other end. If you're a kid watching this, you're not too worried. But then Squidward gets scared. And Squidward is never scared. Depressed? Probably. Annoyed? Obviously. But you never see him scared. So when Squidward starts genuinely panicking, you start getting scared too. Because every other episode you watch of this show is about SpongeBob chasing jellyfish in a field lollygagging around enjoying life. But for there to randomly be an episode where a killer fry cook is haunting them, it switches the tone completely. But then the ending happens. Yeah. The bus shows up, the same one the hash-slinging slasher got hit by, and someone hops off it looking exactly like the person from the story. And they creepily head toward the front door of the Krusty Krab, only for you to realize it's not some deranged killer, it's just a nerdy teenager applying for a job at a bad time. The flickering lights are just the lights doing that because the wiring in the building isn't up to code, which makes sense considering the fact that they're underwater and it's probably hard to get good electricity in there. The phone sound was just an automated system, so everything works out in the end. But the first 90% of that episode genuinely scared real children, including me. It's not the fact that this episode was super terrifying when you compare it to an actual horror movie, but it was that usually this show was so upbeat and jolly, so you weren't ready for this to happen. It's like if you get punched in the face when you're not expecting it, you'll probably get knocked out, but if you're warned before getting punched in the face, you can brace for impact and still probably get knocked out, so I don't know why I made that comparison, but yeah, let's just move on actually. Then there's the episode called Rock Bottom. This one doesn't have any jump scares, but it's just pure dread for the whole episode. So SpongeBob and Patrick go to an amusement park, stay too late, and miss their bus home. SpongeBob ends up on the wrong bus and gets dropped off at Rock Bottom, which is a place that exists below the ocean floor, deeper than Bikini Bottom, a place that's darker, stranger, and operates on different rules than Bikini Bottom. And the episode is literally just SpongeBob trying to get home. He keeps trying to catch the bus back, but every single time, right as he's about to make it, the bus leaves without him. And the residents of Rock Bottom speak in a language that sounds almost like English, but not quite, so SpongeBob cannot understand a single word they're saying, and nobody can help him. Now that I think about it, the language low-key just sounded like how I am when I try to talk to a girl. I'm trying to get my words out, but it just doesn't make sense. This episode is scary for one reason. Did you ever actually physically get jump scared? No, but for the whole duration of the episode, something just didn't sit right with you. But it wasn't even full episodes itself that would be scary, because during completely random episodes, when you're least expecting it, they would randomly pop pictures on the screen of non-animated characters like Nosferatu or real live butterflies. It would literally just be at a random moment. And while these may not sound horrifying, seeing something that is not animated in a show that is entirely animated would give you a really weird feeling. My question is, why did the creators of the show even put these moments in? Were they just trying to give a generation of kids trauma?
Hey, you know what would be funny? What if we put a photo of one of the scariest horror characters of all time right in the middle of the episode without any context?
Won't that, like, traumatize the kids? Yeah. Okay.
SpongeBob is one of the greatest shows of all time, but sometimes I wonder what they were trying to do in those creepy episodes. But there is no debate that Teletubbies absolutely is creepy. I don't care what age you are, those little things were terrifying. Teletubbies was created specifically for children aged 1 to 4 years old. When I was 1 to 4 years old, I was busy peeing and pooping my pants every day, which I still do today, but at least now it doesn't happen when I'm sleeping. I don't really know what the point of me admitting that was, but what I'm trying to say is the target audience of this show is literally people who can't talk yet. Imagine spawning into this world and this is what you're being shown. I don't even know if anyone found the Teletubbies as terrifying as I did, but if you don't understand why they scare me so much, let me help you understand. The Teletubbies are 4 large humanoid creatures. Brightly colored, they have antennae growing directly out of their heads, and televisions built directly into their stomachs. The televisions are part of their body. Their names are Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, and Po. They live in a dome in a field where the grass is unnaturally green, and everything about this world they live in was slightly off. In the sky there's a sun, and the sun has a baby's face in it. There's literally no context given about this baby sun or why it's there, but it's there. Like, is the baby the ruler of the Teletubbies? Is it keeping them trapped in this dome? I have no idea, and I want answers. But here's the thing that made this show really eerie, because I can get past the weird shapes of their bodies or the fact that there's a laughing baby just floating in the sky, but the part that made this whole show too freaky was how they talked. They basically spoke in a language of gibberish, so you could never actually understand what they were saying. In any other kids show, like Bluey, or actually that's the only other toddler show I can think of, Elmo, but in these shows, they speak a real language. They speak American, but in the Teletubbies, Teletubbies, you have no idea what they're saying to each other at all times, which is a big issue because it makes you wonder what they're talking about. For all I know, they were calling me chopped through the TV screen. But oh, don't worry, there's one person in this show that speaks a real language. It just happens to not be an actual person, and instead, it's a metal tube called voice trumpets. They come out of the ground, a voice comes out of them, the voice has no source, it simply emerges from the earth and announces things. The Teletubbies respond to the voice from the ground like this is just completely normal. Now, if it sounds to you like I haven't really given a plot for this show, and I'm basically just describing the setting of this place, you're right, that is what I'm doing. Because there basically is no plot to it. It's just the gibberish speaking Teletubbies wandering around with no purpose or mission in life staring at you like this.
Apparently you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single prompt with Wix Harmony. I don't know if this is going to be possible or...
Now, if I described that to you without telling you it was a children's show, what would you have guessed? The thing that is most uncanny about these Teletubbies is their smile. It never stops. Their bodies move, but the smile is fixed, so you can't tell how they're ever feeling. If they're angry, still smiling. Sad, still smiling. And if you're thinking, Tyler, you're being dramatic. You're the only one that thinks the Teletubbies are scary. You are wrong, because psychologists have actually written about how Teletubbies unsettle viewers. Now, to be fair, I only read the headline of this article and I didn't actually click on it, so I could be lying for all I know, but I'm just gonna trust what the title said. The reason the Teletubbies don't talk and that there's weird colors is because it's a show literally meant for children. It's not supposed to make sense to me, but to that I say, give me one other show meant for children that's this terrifying. You probably can't, because most kids shows are wholesome and don't give you nightmares. But remember, that's just most kids shows, not all of them. Because I've gotta admit, we've gone over some creepy shows and movies so far, but for me, there is nothing that made me more uncomfortable as a child than Courage the Cowardly Dog. This show ran on Cartoon Network, and if you've ever watched Cartoon Network before, you'd probably understand why. Cartoon Network was where the shows that were kind of made for kids, but were a little too off-putting to be...
Okay guys, that's gonna be it for today. Make sure you like and subscribe. Bye.